binti Mohd Salleh with matrix number 30540, and today I will talk about what defines success and failure. Let's start with success. Success cannot be defined by having a perfect technical model, but instead we can define success by first extent of use, where ABC is used for multiple purposes such as product costing, pricing, customer profitability, and performance measurement. Next, user satisfaction, where managers and cost accountants find information reliable, timely, useful, and transparent. Next, measurable benefit, where the company that implemented ABC have better cost traceability, product decision, and tangible cost control. Last but not least, integration, where the ABC is not a parallel system, but instead it becomes part of the routine in budgeting and planning. The main reason that lead to this success are first the management support, where not only approval but also active championship. Next, clear objective, where everyone understands why this ABC implemented. Last but not least, adequate training, especially for those frontline staff. Now, failure. Failure is not always mean that we abandoning ABC completely. It can be mean limited use, low satisfaction, no cost impact, or eventually reverting to traditional costing. From Nigerian study, only 31% have entirely implemented ABC, and the rest of it only partial or non-adapter. From the UK and New Zealand study, most of the firms that implemented ABC entirely use it tentatively, and the rest abandon it entirely. Now, the main reason that lead to this failure are first, high cost and complexity. That is the most common reason for rejection. Many firms see ABC as expensive to build and maintain, especially updating cost driver. Next, lack of top management support. When leaders lose interest, the initiative die instantly. Last but not least, insufficient training and competence. This is because firms see ABC as technical fix and then ignoring the need of build skill.
Hi, good morning. My name is Harith Aiman and my number metric is 301481. Today I will present on the topic of why activity-based costing or ABC success in organization. Activity-based costing is a costing method that assign overhead costs based on the actual activities that consume resources. Unlike traditional costing system that use a single cost driver, ABC provide a more accurate way of measuring costs. According to the article, ABC has become an important tool for strategic cost management because it helps organizations allocate costs more accurately and improve their overall performance. The first reason why ABC success is accurate cost allocation. ABC assign overhead costs according to the activities performed within an organization. This allows organization to determine the actual cost of product and service. As a result, manager can avoid cost distortion that often occur in traditional costing system. The article highlights that accurate costing is important because inaccurate cost information may lead organizations to make poor decisions, such as discontinue profitable product or continue unprofitable ones. Therefore, ABC provides more reliable cost information and improve the quality of decision making. The second reason why ABC success is strong management support. The article explained that successful adoption of ABC requires commitment from top management. Management support is important because implementation ABC requires resources and leadership across different departments. In addition, organization needs individuals with technical expertise and knowledge to manage the implementation process. When management actively supports the system and employees understand its benefits, the chance of successful implementation become much higher. The third reason why ABC success is better decision making, because ABC provides detailed and accurate cost information. Managers can make more effective decisions regarding pricing, budgeting, cost control, and resource allocation. The article also mentioned that ABC helps organizations identify activities that create value and those that consume excessive resources. This enables managers to improve operational efficiency and reduce unnecessary costs. Organizations can enhance their profitability and overall performance. In addition, the article found that large organizations with greater resources are more likely to adopt and sustain ABC successfully. This suggests that organizations are characteristic and the availability of resources also contribute to the success ABC implementation. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Aleesya Khairina, binti Muharishanizam, and my mentor number is 306327, and I'm presenting on why activity-based costing fails. Based on my review of 5 journal articles from Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, Australia, and Iraq, I've identified 3 main barriers that cause ABC to fail, which are high implementation cost, technical complexity, and also behavioral resistance. I will explain each one. The first barrier is high implementation cost. According to article by Murugan, which reviews ABC success and failure internationally, companies reject ABC mainly because of its perceived administrative and technical complexity, and also the need for new systems to continuously generate activity data. Another article by Etang, which studied Nigerian manufacturing firms, found that implementation cost was rated as the biggest challenge, with a mean score of 4.45 out of 5. That means most respondents strongly agreed that cost is a major problem. So, what makes ABC so expensive? It is expensive because you need to purchase the software and the hardware for the system. You also need to hire consultants who understand the system and train your staff. And most importantly, you need to continuously collect and update data, which takes time and also resources. For small and medium-sized enterprises like SMEs, this cost is often too high because they lack the infrastructure and financial capacity to do so. And the same applies to Malaysia. When companies believe that the cost of implementation exceeds the expected benefit, they simply decide not to adopt ABC or they abandon it after a failed pilot study. And that brings me to the second barrier. The second barrier is technical complexity. Article by Murugan also explained that while ABC is feasible for initial pilot studies, it becomes very difficult and costly to scale the company-wide application. Even after you build the initial model, updating it requires you to re-interview staff and re-estimate activities whenever operations change. And as a result, many ABC models are not maintained, and their cost estimates quickly become obsolete. Article by Etang supports this, showing that respondents agreed ABC is complex to understand, with a mean score of 4.02 out of 5, and the data is difficult to collect with a score of 3.89. So, what exactly makes it complex? First is identifying the correct cost drivers is not straightforward. And second, the system is time-consuming to maintain. And third, it requires an advanced IT system that many companies, especially in developing countries, do not have. Article by Al-Dhamari, which studies Saudi Arabia manufacturing companies, found that companies with average success in ABC implementation actually showed dissatisfaction with ABC as a tool for calculating product cost. Why? Because they face difficulties defining activities, identifying proper cost drivers, and allocating costs correctly. In short, technical complexity makes ABC hard to sustain over time. And now, the third barrier might be the most important one. The third barrier is behavioral and organizational resistance. This is actually the most critical factor. Article by Murugan emphasized that many firms that implemented ABC experienced problems, not because the technical design was flawed, but because they gave insufficient attention to behavioral and organizational factors. So, what are these factors? Article by Murugan and article by Sharma identify several. First is the lack of top management support. If senior leaders do not lead the project, it will fail. And second, employee fear and suspicion. Workers may worry that ABC will expose inefficiencies or lead to layoff. The article also brings up an interesting point about culture. In high-power distant cultures, where subordinates depend on superiors, a top-down approach may work. But in low-power distant cultures, the same approach will create resistance. The way you implement ABC must fit your cultural context. Article by Sharma, studying Australian universities, found that non-adopters had top managers with less experience at their current organisation, meaning they lack organisation-specific knowledge to push ABC forward. Without management commitment, ABC is guaranteed to fail. So to conclude here, ABC fails mainly for three reasons. First is high implementation costs, as many firms, especially SMEs, cannot afford it. Second is technical complexities, since the system is difficult to scale and maintain over time. And third is behavioral resistance, because without top management support and a project leader, even a technically perfect system will fail. So, the key lesson from all 5 articles is that technical design alone is not enough. Companies that focus only on software and ignore behavioral factors are setting themselves up for failure. And that's all from me. Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Nuralyaa Husna binti Jahari 313478, and I am going to present about the real case studies for the success and failures of ABC implementation. There are 3 real case studies, which are the ABC adoption in Australian universities, operational crisis at Kufa Cement Factory, and the last one, the reality of ABC in emerging manufacturing markets, specifically in Nigeria. Moving to the first case study, we are looking at the sector-wide adoption across Australian universities. This sector operates in a highly volatile macro environment with government funding caps, requiring precise cost data to price educational programs and secure external grants. Traditional costing creates dangerous distortions here, which is universities risk accidentally cutting profitable programs while retaining heavily subsidized unprofitable ones. Interestingly, the study found a 62.5% success rate for ABC adoption, which is significantly higher than historical rates, proving that adoption grows as technical familiarity expands over time. Well, what sets the successful adopters apart? Qualitatively, it comes down to active top management support and the presence of an ABC champion, which a dedicated leader driving the implementation. Quantitatively, the binary logistic regression from the Australian study revealed a massive trend, which is universities with annual revenues exceeding 500 million Australian dollars had an 18.99 times higher propensity to adopt ABC. For these massive organizations, ABC provides the strategic clarity needed to justify funding allocations and gain legitimacy in the eyes of state and private stakeholders. Now, let's look at the failures and non-adopters. Why do some institutions reject ABC? Well, the research points to a mix of cognitive and structural barriers. Senior executives at non-adopting universities uniformly possessed limited organization-specific knowledge, having served fewer than 4 years in their current roles, which severely hindered long-term strategic goal setting. Furthermore, a massive 2,000 employees had a 16.98 times lower propensity to adopt ABC. This indicates that socially progressive, highly staffed legacy institutions heavily resist structural accounting overhauls, choosing to stick with simple yet flawed traditional costing models. Now, to understand how operationalizing ABC principles can rescue a failing enterprise, let I transition to the next case study, which is the Kufa Cement Factory. Operating under a traditional standardized accounting system, the plant's cost allocation was based strictly on production value. This generated an artificial total cost of 140,462 dinars per ton. And because of the actual market price for cement was kept between 95,000 and 100,000 dinar, their traditional system reported a catastrophic loss of over 54,000 dinar on every single ton produced. Management was blindsided. Hence, to survive, they integrated time-driven product life cycle costing with activity-based management. Therefore, the factory's innovative approach combined two advanced frameworks, which are TDP-LCC and ABM, For TDPLCC, it stands for the Time-Driven Product Lifecycle Costing, which calculates practical capacity based on time equations, mapping costs across the entire life cycle of the product, which is from R&D to after-sales services. Crucially, it isolates unused capacity costs, meaning that idle machinery or labors is not falsely charged to the product. Meanwhile, for the ABM, it stands for the activity-based management, as it focuses on the process dimension, evaluating what activities are performed, why they are performed, and how to execute them efficiently by wiping out non-value-added steps. When analyzing the business at the activity level, people make the invisible visible. Well, by applying ABM, the factory mapped out exact cycle times and systematically eliminated non-value-added waste. Process times across the board shrank, which research and development dropped from 3.7 to 3.5 minutes, planning and design dropped from 6.2 to 6 minutes, and crop production was trimmed from 18.3 to 18 minutes. In total, the active operating time required per ton fell from 41.8 minutes to 33.2 minutes. This time reduction directly lowered resource consumption and variable overhead expenditures. The financial results of moving from a legacy costing model to an optimized integrated framework were staggeringly clear. Total calculated expenses plummeted from the traditional baseline of 140,462 dinars down to a highly accurate 89,078 and 22 dinars per ton, which a variance of 51,383 and 78 dinars per ton. The factory did not magically alter reality. Rather, they corrected a flawed accounting system that was distorting managerial data. Hence, by removing idle capacity costs and optimizing operational time, the company proved that they could easily withstand market pricing pressures and return to clear profitability. Now, to ensure the analysis accounts for diverse economic environments, let's look at the third case study, focusing on the manufacturing sector in an emerging market, specifically Nigeria. In these environments, modern reproduction complexities and technology upgrades have caused indirect overheads to skyrocket. Despite this structural change, a vast majority of firms continue to lean on legacy, volume-based overhead allocations like the machine hours or direct labor hours. This creates massive cost distortions. Firms end up misrepresenting their true resource consumption, leading to suboptimal product pricing, wasted resources, and rapidly eroding profit margins in highly competitive global landscapes. While the strategic benefits of ABC are clear, this industrial research highlights why widespread implementation is slow and frequently resisted. First, there is intense organizational inertia and cultural resistance to changing operational routines. Second, many manufacturing plants suffer from an infrastructure and competence gap, as they lack the advanced information systems needed to track activities smoothly, alongside a shortage of staff trained to operate the model. Finally, the steep upfront costs for software and technical consultants means that without aggressive executive backing, implementation stalls completely. So I think that it is best believed that I have covered all of the sufficient points for the real case studies for the ABC, which are the ABC adoption in Australian universities, operation crisis at Kufa Cement Factory, and the reality of ABC in emerging manufacturing markets, specifically in Nigeria. So that's all from me. Thank you. My name is Nuralyaa Husna binti Jahari, 313478.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Rudyhizat, and now I will explain to you lessons learned and recommendation for ABC systems in Malaysia. So we have the first one, which is technical design. Beyond technical design, the human care. So today we're looking at what it actually takes to make activity-based costing or ABC costing work in the Malaysian context. So we have behavioral ownership over code, mitigating defensive routines, and non-accounting stewardship. And the headline finding is this: ABC is not a software problem, it's a people problem. So cross-functional, buy-in and training consistently outweigh the sophistication of the system itself. When the new cost visibility exposes inefficiencies, department get defensive. That's natural. Our job is to replace that defensiveness with evidence-based conversation. Crucially, accountants alone cannot sustain ABC. Production managers, engineers, HR, leads They need to own the data pipelines. If they don't, the system quietly dies. So for the next one, we have cultural adaptations for Malaysia. In Malaysia's cultural landscape actually gives us some real advantages here. Leverage hierarchical championing, cooperative in groups, structured threats reduction, and adopt a multi-year vision if we play to them. First, use hierarchy strategically. In a high-power distance culture, a directive from the top carries weight that a memo from finance simply doesn't. Executive champions needs to be visible and vocal. Second, we lean into collectivism. Cross-functional teams work brilliantly here. Frame ABC as a shared mission, not an audit on any one department. Third, manage uncertainty proactively. Malaysian teams respond well to structured, step-by-step guidance and hands-on workshop. It removes ambiguity wherever possible. Finally, and this is the critical for board conversation, set realistic timelines. ABC can take out 5 to or more than 5 years to break even. Abandoning it at year 2 because ROI or return on investment isn't obvious yet is one of the most common and costly mistakes that we see. And so for now, I will explain the implementation roadmap, which is our roadmap runs on 4 phases, which is align and secure, pilot and train, map and model, and budget and refine. We cannot skip the phase 1, so we have to secure executive alignment and resources before any technical work begins. Is what separates successful rollouts from expensive failures. And lastly, I will explain on the key strategic recommendations. So a few rules on system design, which is first, chase your expensive resources. Trace overhead where misallocation hurts most. For example, machinery costing in manufacturing, marketing spend in consumer lines. Next is accept approximation, with being within 5 to 10% with a sound methodology beats being precisely wrong with arbitrary volumetric rates. And third, isolate idle capacity. For example, charge it directly to the income statement and don't let it distort your production costs. One of the Malaysian industry side pair ABC and with JIT and TQM initiatives, the return on investment synergies are significant. Update models annually, not constantly. And tap MMU and national academic partnership to build local expertise rather than depending on expensive external consultants for long term. So I'll close this with ABC works when the organization owns it, not just when the system is technically correct.